Why is it green behind me? Because today we're talking about money, and we're talking about how much it costs, how much realistically it costs to live today, right now in St. Johns County, Florida. Here it is 2023. We are actually getting close to the end of 2023, but let's talk about how much things cost right now. And we're going to talk about some things, and I think you're going to go, holy cow, that's a lot more than I expected. And there may be one or two things that you're like, shoot, that's not nearly as high as I expected it to be. But stay tuned and find out. Well, the first expense that we're going to talk about today is housing. And I have right here, this is the market stats for last month. So I'm filming this right now. It is October of 2023. And so these are from September 2023. And I'll just run through these really quick, the ones that are appropriate for this video, but I don't know if that's going to focus. There we go. The median sales price. So median versus average, of course, median throws out the top of the range and the lower of the range. The median sales price in St. Johns County is $536,000. So over $500,000 for the median sales price. And just talking about costs here. So looking at this right here, $254, the average price per foot. So you look at a home in St. Johns County, you know that on average, it's about $254 a foot. Now, just to be clear, it's not that simple. Don't just take $254 and stick it on any house that you see. A pool home is going to have a higher price per foot, typically. A smaller home is going to have a higher price per foot. A larger home's typically going to have a lower price per foot. And then you have like the different types of lots. You have all these different things that go into the price of a home. But just looking at the averages, it's $254 a foot. 536 is the median price. And then down here, this is relevant. I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but that 4.2 there, that is the, what we call absorption rate. Ooh, fancy. That is the months of inventory. And so that sitting at 4.2 indicates, historically, that's indicated that it's a seller's market. But it seems like right now, 4.6, just even anything close to 5 feels really, really balanced right now. The market feels a lot like it did in 2019 before COVID hit. So I would consider this a pretty balanced market right now here in St. Johns County. So what that means for you, if you're thinking about moving here, is it's no longer the sellers sitting up in their ivory tower on their balcony, looking down at the buyers like, bring me your offers. And if I deign to look at it, if I deign to consider it, then maybe we can make a deal. But you must get rid of all your contingencies and blah, blah, blah. Neither is it the buyers coming in and going like, listen here, seller, you're going to give me all this money towards closing costs, and you're going to waive my binder deposit, and you're going to do all these things. There's some pretty good balance and pretty good parity right now. So I know this is focused right now on what the cost of living is here, but just talking about housing really quick, we're sitting at that $536K for housing, $254 a foot. And just know that you have some negotiating power when you come down here. Let's talk about housing isn't just purchasing. Housing's also rentals. So a lot of times people moving here, they're like, maybe get a rent for a year or two and just get a feel for things. And that can work. What I've been seeing for rentals is typically you're going to be in these like master plan communities. They're typically going from anywhere from maybe 2,200-ish for a townhome up to 2,800 for a smaller single family home. Then you go to 3,200-ish to 3,500 for a larger single family home. And then if you had like something with a lot of amenities, just a really cool situation, I've seen them $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for like a nice pool home. So it's, the days are not here. I don't want to say gone, because I guess they could come back. We come down and rent a house for $1,500 a month. It's just not happening here in St. Johns County. Actually, probably not up in Jacksonville either, but St. Johns County for sure. You're going to be $2,200 for a townhome, probably. If you want to get specific on that, I can definitely help you and give you the current numbers. But as of right now, that's just what I am seeing. So next up, we have transportation, and I am driving a car here. I'm not milking a cow. I don't know how it looks to milk a cow. I've never milked a cow, but hopefully it doesn't look like that. I'm driving a car and we're talking about transportation. And the reason I'm driving a car is because if you come down here to St. Johns County, you'll probably want to be driving a car too. Jacksonville area is huge. It's the largest city in the continental United States by landmass, I believe. If not, it's definitely up there. I think Alaska has a few cities that are bigger, but I think like actually in the continental United States, it is the largest. Prove me wrong. I don't care. It's up there anyways. Point is, you're probably going to need a car. Public transportation is, there's not a whole lot of public transportation to go around. There's this kind of silly little skyway thing down in Jacksonville. There's some public transportation here and there, but nothing really to speak of. I wouldn't count on public transportation if you're going to come here to Jacksonville or here in St. Johns County for sure. Even once in a while, Ubers can be a little sketchy. So having your own vehicle is not necessarily a must. If you're going out occasionally, Uber can help you. If you lived in like Nocatee, you could get by and get everything done that you need in life for the most part with a golf cart. You can go to Publix, you can go to the pharmacy, you can go to the wine store, you go to the grocery store. All that stuff is available to you in Nocatee by golf cart. But if you want to get to the beach, if you want to get to the airport, you're probably not going to be driving your golf. You shouldn't, don't do it. Don't drive your golf cart to those places. So it is not a super walkable area for the most part. Again, living in the town center in some of these areas, definitely walkable for sure, 100%. But just generally speaking, you're probably going to want a car. And so that takes us into insurance. From what I hear, I'm not an expert on what insurances cost everywhere. And truth be told, I have not one, but two teenagers driving in my household. So my car insurance is really, really, really high. I shouldn't do thumbs up. I'm meaning through the roof, but I'm kind of doing thumbs up. I don't give it thumbs up. Don't recommend having teenage drivers and carrying insurance. But anyways, our insurance is fairly high here. And that's because my understanding is it's because we have a lot of uninsured drivers. And so they get in wreck, someone's got to pay for it. Insurance goes up. I would count on somewhere between 100 and $150 per vehicle in the household per month. I just know for me and my family, it's really, really, really stinking high. I could definitely get in touch with a real good pro though, who can help you get those numbers dialed in. Gas prices, we are sitting right around, and I've seen this pretty much for the last year or so. I think I've seen it maybe as low as like $3.25 it up to $3.70-ish, but we're sitting right around $3.50 a gallon, give or take. And a lot of the gas stations, like I do the 7-Eleven a bunch, and get 11 cents off per gallon if I use their app. Or just the different gas stations, they have their loyalty programs. And a lot of times that can lower the, amount per gallon, but right about $3.50 a gallon for a tank of gas. All right. So let's talk about electricity, I guess utilities in general. So electricity, water, and another big one here. Most of the master plan communities here in St. Johns County are all natural gas communities. A lot of natural gas communities. So we'll talk about gas as well. So let's start with electric. Now, electric is super important because it is hot here. And in the summer, we're running the AC. I mean, if you're not running the AC, man, my hat's off to you. We are not the same species. I need my AC. I need it nice and cool. But, and our house, so just give you our experience. My house is right about 3,200 square feet, and we like to keep it really cool. So during the day, we're probably 73. At night, we sleep pretty cold. The house goes down to 69 degrees. And my wife and I, we may or may not have a mini split in the bedroom to drop that temperature down even a little bit further without cooling the whole house. So that said, don't count on your electricity bill being as high as ours is. But man, in the peak of the heat wave that we had this summer, we had multiple days at like 115 degrees heat index. It was stinking hot, man. But right in the middle of that, we probably hit close to 400 bucks a few times on our electricity bill. But most summers we can expect right around 320 bucks a month. And so my opinion, we're kind of an extreme example. Canadian, upstate New York, we like to keep it pretty cool. If you're like in a 2,500 square foot house, especially a newer home with lots of energy efficiency, and you'd like to keep your home at 74 degrees or something like that, say, then I would expect you to be about maybe 100, 125, 150 bucks in the summer per month. And then the nice thing is, and we're rolling into it and coming up probably at least November, December, January, February, we don't really run the AC. Once in a while, we let the heat kick on if it gets really, really cold. And for us, really, really cold is low to mid 30s. And that's usually only for a couple days span. But yeah, we'll run the heat a tiny bit. And then the electricity bill is just crazy low, like 80 bucks or something like that. In the winter, our gas bill goes up a little because we love running our gas fireplace. Also, our hot water heater runs on gas. Most of the neighborhoods here are going to have natural gas, as I said. And then all the natural gas neighborhoods where the new construction is going in, every house has tankless hot water heaters. And those heat the water with natural gas. So, gosh, natural gas, I would say on the high end, 50 bucks a month. And then typically 20 to 30 bucks a month on natural gas, depending on how much hot water you're using, how much cooking you're doing, all that good stuff. So speaking of hot water, let's just talk about water in general. And this is one of the places where people get caught off guard and you can get some sky high water bills if you're not careful, especially when you're buying new construction. And I'll explain that in just a second. So we really have two types of water here. We have potable water. That's the water that you drink, the water that's coming into your house. And then a lot of neighborhoods have something called reclaimed water. And what you'll notice is out in the yard, there'll be these purple pipes and with the sprinkler on top. And whenever you see the purple pipes, that means that it's reclaimed water. And so that's water that is just reclaimed in those drainage lakes, and the water's processed and treated, but it's not potable. It's not for drinking. And so that's the water that's typically used for irrigation. Because there's a couple different types of water, there's a couple different price points, things get a little bit complicated. If you use X amount of gallons after that, then the price goes up. And so the reason that people like reclaimed water for their yard is that it's less expensive. But when you hit a certain threshold, sometimes that price goes up to where it's at or over the price of potable water, but it's still cheaper because you don't have the sewer. There's no sewer charges on it. So all that to say, it gets complicated. I would expect if you're watering your lawn properly, you're probably going to be 100, it depends on your yard, but on average about 150 bucks, 160 bucks a month for water. And a lot of that's due to irrigation. Now, this is the big mistake that people make when they're buying new construction. The builder will, when they put the sod down, they'll set that thing to water like every day, twice a day. And the water's getting poured on there because they want to get the sod to root properly. Needs a lot of watering. The problem is that when the buyer takes over the property and they change the water bill over to their name, what can happen is they forget to adjust that and not make it water every day, twice a day, and set it to the proper days. And so what happens is all of a sudden people move in and they get these like $600, $700, $800 water bills. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? This is craziness. But that can be fixed with just adjusting the timer on the irrigation system so that you're watering like a regular person, not like a builder who's just trying to get sod to take. Let's talk about the cost of food for just a second. If you live and you eat in the United States and probably just about anywhere, the cost of food has gone up. And so I'm not really sure compared to the rest of the country where we're at as far as food costs, but I know that they're a lot more than they were 3 years ago. My wife is an organic baker, and so we're buying organic butter and organic eggs, organic milk, and organic all this stuff. And holy cow, it is not cheap. It's expensive for food right now. So that said, there are quite a few options. You can go to Publix. There's a Publix grocery store like on every corner around here, it seems. And Publix does tend to be a little more expensive than some of the other stores. Of course, it's new and bright and clean, and they have BOGOs. So buy one, get one. My wife, she cringes every time I go to Publix because she knows I'm going to see something that's buy one, get one, and I'm just compelled to buy it. But there's other options too. There's your Winn-Dixie's and other grocery stores that Aldi's, and they tend to have maybe some lower pricing than the Publixes do. So if you're the kind that wants to drive around to a few different spots and get the best deals, that's available to you. If you want the convenience of having something right outside your door, that's available to you as well. But food costs are pretty high. So again, you've got a big range, right? You've got your standard kind of fare, if you will. Of course, you have fast food, and then you have your more touristy areas. My daughter and I, the two of us, had lunch together yesterday after church, and we went for Mexican, and she got queso. And so queso adds to the cost, and then a burrito bowl. And I got a taco basket, and we each had drinks. And that came out to like $32. So it was pushing $40 after tip. You could do it without the queso and everything. You could probably, $30 for dinner or lunch for two would be pretty standard. Going out to eat for dinner, expect for a couple, maybe closer to $50, $60 could, be $100 on date night with wine or something as well. When you get to the more touristy spots like Caps on the Water or a lot of the places down in Old St. Augustine, it's touristy, so the prices are a little bit higher as well. You could expect to go get a piece of fish that's blackened and grilled, really nicely done with some nice sides, but it's going to be probably $27 to $32 for that particular entree. So just to summarize the food cost aspect here, I don't think you're going to be shocked because where you live right now, I'm sure your grocery bills are higher, but just be aware that, groceries cost more than they did a few years ago, but you do have options here. There are several different types of grocery stores here, from the real bright and shiny and clean ones with a little higher price to the ones that are maybe not run down, just not as much flash and flare going on, but you can save some money at them as well. Taxes. We need to talk about taxes. We're talking about costs of living here, and I've got good news and I don't know if it's bad news, but I've got regular old tax news, which, no one likes taxes, right? Who loves having taxes? But the really good news is that income tax wise, you probably know this, but if you don't, I love that I get to deliver this good news to you. Florida has no state income tax. So if you're moving from another state, say you're paying 6% state income tax, moving to Florida, assuming your salary stays the same, you just got a 6% raise. High five. But we are seeing a lot of that where people live in other states and now they're able to work remote. There's that big movement towards working remote, and they're moving to Florida and they're enjoying the benefit of not having a state income tax. The other benefit to that is just the practical aspect of not having to file a state return. So that's super amazing when you can just at tax time, file your federal taxes, and you don't have to go through all the expenses and the rigmarole of filing a state return. It's just a federal income tax. So that's awesome not to have a state income tax. So now let's talk quickly about property taxes. How much property tax can you expect? And so there's a lot of factors at play here, and you're probably going to get sick of hearing me say it depends, but it does depend. So I'm going to give you a guideline, but just know that it could be plus, it could be minus. Try to be conservative. Usually try to aim on the high side when it comes to taxes, because I would much, much, much rather you come and have a happy surprise than underestimate the amount of taxes and then you have a shock. The first factor that your taxes are going to depend on is your assessed value of your house. Now, the purchase price of your house isn't necessarily where the tax authorities are going to value your house. Usually it's a little bit lower than the purchase price in my experience. That's where the assessed value is, and that's what your taxes are going to be based on. What we found is a general rule of thumb. If you take your purchase price of the home and you multiply it times 1.3%, that's going to give you a pretty good estimate of where your taxes are going to at least start. So here's some more good news on property tax. We have something called homesteading. Homesteading is amazing. It actually has a lot of legal protections, which I won't get into right now, but it also has a lot of cost savings. One of the big cost savings that most families enjoy is $50,000 of exemption. And so what that means is you have your assessed value, and what they're going to do is they're going to take the $50,000 off the assessed value. So if you had a $500,000 assessed value on your home, now you're going to pay taxes as if your house is assessed at $450,000. The other great protection here is the most that they can raise your assessed value each year is 3%. So even if the market goes up 10% and your house is now worth 550, the most they can go up is 3%, which, 515, I don't know. You can check my math on that, but your assessed value can only go up 3% max. And so if the market, the real value of your home goes up 10%, 8%, 7%, 3%, 10%, and that compounds on top of each other, the max you're only going to go up on your assessed value is 3%, 3%, 3% at the most, and sometimes less. So the really cool thing about that as well is you're going to build up a little bit of a cushion, right? So now let's say your house is worth 650 and the assessed value has bumped up to where it's at 550. You've got $100,000 of cushion in there. When you sell your house and go buy another homesteaded house, you can take that $100,000, it's called portability, and you can port that over to your next house. Let's say you bought a house it assessed at $700,000, your new house. You're actually going to automatically from the start, you're going to pay taxes on that as if it's $600,000. Now take your homestead and you're going to pay taxes as if it's $550,000. So there's some cool things that go on with homesteading here. There are other benefits available as well for veterans with disability. There's some benefits available for seniors, and those generally are shaving $5,000, $10,000 off the assessed value of the home. So no income tax at all. And then property taxes, again, take your purchase price times 1.3% and then shave off that $50,000 homestead and start enjoying the 3% per year cap and the gap that you're going to build up over time. One of the biggest surprises, I think right now on the bad side, one of the biggest shocks right now is for people moving here is our home insurance costs. When I moved here 10, 11 years ago, I remember, I think my house it was a 2,500 square foot house in Nocatee, and my insurance on it was around $400 a year. So pretty low. And of course, in the time that I've been here, we've seen home prices go up. And so of course, replacement costs have gone up. And let's say even if those prices have doubled, well, and you're thinking, okay, $800 a year for insurance. But in that time as well, and probably for longer than the last 10 years, there's been some issues. And this isn't the whole reason that our insurance has gone way up, but I would argue it's the biggest reason that our insurance has gone way up. And that is we've had a lot of fraudulent roofing companies going out. And what they were doing is knocking on doors and going in and telling the homeowners, hey, look, if we can find some hail damage, which is pretty easy to find, or in some cases manufacture, if we can find some hail damage, we can cover your deductible and go to the insurance company and they'll give you a whole new roof, and they have to do it. And they know all the rules and regulations for it. And so there are a lot of people out there just getting new roofs, oftentimes not paying a deductible. Now, they tried to clamp down on that. Some saying, well, you can't tell them you'll pay for the deductible, but then they just say, well, we'll stick a sign in your yard and we'll pay you $1,500 to let us put a sign in your yard. There's ways to skirt around that. But because of that and all the roofs that these insurance companies are putting on, that money's got to get covered somewhere. And our insurance has gone up and up and up. And just as a personal example, my house is about 3,200 square feet. We are, gosh, I've been here almost 6 years, something like that, about 5 to 7 years we've been in the house. And our insurance when we first moved in here was 800 bucks, $1,000 maybe in that range. And it's the last like 3, 4 years, it's gone up to close to $3,000 a year right now. So insurances are challenging. And if you're buying a house here that is over 10 years old, now remember, we're putting 25, 30-year roofs on. The insurance companies are starting to look at 10-year-old houses, and some are rejecting homes that are only 10 years on the roof and requiring a new roof, or they're needing to go to a provider that costs significantly more money. A personal example this year, we did a deal where the roof was 15 years old and a new roof had to go on for that house to get insured. So there are complications, and on the sell side and on the buy side, there's ways to make that happen, and things are paid at closing. And so nobody's coming a ton of cash out of pocket. You know, the roofs are $18,000, $20,000, $23,000 for a new roof, depending on the size of the house. So there's a lot of cost in these transactions sometimes. Another reason why it's super important to work with an experienced agent that knows how to make these things happen and make it as painless for everyone as possible. But hey, it's just the world we're living in right now. We have high insurance costs, and the insurance companies are requiring roof replacements at a much younger roof age than they were before. Hopefully that gives you at least a little bit of a picture of what it costs to live here in St. Augustine. If you found this video helpful, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But if you have any questions in particular, you can ask in the comments. I check those. My phone number's in the comments or in the description as well. You can send me a text directly, and I am happy to dig up some info for you or answer any specific questions you have. Hopefully, we'll see you down here in St. Johns County soon. So let's go. Stay classy, St. Johns.